So starting with the Council of Ministers, the Council of Ministers is dealt under Article 74 and 75 of the Constitution. The Constitution states that the total number of ministers in the Council of Ministers should not exceed beyond 15%, including the Prime Minister. So, in all, if there are 100 ministers, it must not exceed 15 ministers, including the Prime Minister. So that is the basic rule which is given here. And after that, moving to the Prime Minister's part, Prime Minister is the real executive head. In President, we saw that he's the nominal head, but the real head is the Prime Minister. So he'll be taking the decisions and other things along with the Council of Ministers, and that decision will be executed by the President by giving his assent. So the President has the ultimate say in converting a bill into an act. So yesterday we saw here, he has the executive, legislature, financial emergency, veto, military, pardoning, and ordinance making power for the President. But whereas the Prime Minister is the real executive head. Therefore, he heads the government and appoints the council. He advises the President to appoint the Council of Ministers. But the Prime Minister is appointed by the President himself. So that is an important point which must be noted here. And the term of Prime Minister is not fixed, as he holds office during the pleasure of President. So the pleasure of President means he holds till he enjoys majority in the parliament. அதாவது ஆளு வச்சின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க கரெக்ட்டுங்களா? அந்த மெஜாரிட்டி என்ஜாய் பண்ற வரைக்கும் வந்து பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர் கேன் ஹோல்ட் திஸ் ஆஃபீஸ். இஃப் ஹி லூசஸ் மெஜாரிட்டி தென் ஹி ஹாஸ் டு ரிசைன். அடுத்து எந்த பார்ட்டில வந்து தேர் இஸ் மெஜாரிட்டி, தட் கேண்டிடேட் வில் டேக் ஓவர் தி பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர். ஸோ ஹி ப்ரிசைட்ஸ் ஓவர் தி மீட்டிங் ஆஃப் கவுன்சில் ஆஃப் மினிஸ்டர்ஸ் அண்ட் ஹி இன்ஃப்ளூயன்சஸ் தேர் டிசிஷன்ஸ். ஸோ ஒரு மீட்டிங் நடக்கும்போது பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வந்து அமைச்சரவை கூட்டம்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அந்த அமைச்சரவை கூட்டத்தில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வந்து பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர் வில் பி ஹெட்டிங் தி மீட்டிங் and they will be taking decisions in order to run the government. So he can ask the president, or he can advise the minister to resign. Advise the president to ask and resign a minister. So that is the ultimate power which he has. In order to have the Council of Ministers functioning in an effective way, this power has been given to him. The parliamentary sessions are summoned by the president on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. Therefore, we saw yesterday that 3 sessions are conducted for each year in the Parliament, and those 3 sessions are summoned and prorogued by the President. But the President cannot do it by himself. He can do it only on the recommendation of Prime Minister. So the maximum interval between 2 sessions of a Parliament can be 6 months. This is the maximum interval which is given in the Constitution. So for a minimum of 2 times it must be conducted. But at present, we are having 3 sessions. So that is the current scenario. So as in the president's part, we have important facts related to prime ministers also. Just go through it. Because static part, you can expect one or the other question. Next, we'll move to the Attorney General. Attorney General is appointed by the President under Article 76 of the Constitution. So Attorney General is the ultimate auditor of Attorney General is the lawyer to the government. Attorney General's term is not fixed by the Constitution. He holds office during the pleasure of President. That is, if the President or the Prime Minister President thinks he is not fit to continue in his office, he can resign, or he can remove him from his post and he can appoint another person. Therefore, that is called as pleasure of President. Actually, it's not pleasure of President. It is the pleasure. He holds office till the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers is decided upon. If they don't want him to hold their office, then they can advise the President to relieve him from office. He appears on behalf of central government in all the cases of Supreme Court. As I mentioned, he is the topmost lawyer of the government. So he appears for any case which is on behalf of the central government or any other body which the central government runs. So that is his main duty. He can also be an audience in both the houses of the Parliament. He has the right to speak. He has the right to take part in proceedings. but he cannot vote in any instance because he is not a member of the parliament. A member of the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha இருக்கணும். அவர் வந்து மெம்பரா இல்லாதனால வந்து அவரால் ஓட் பண்ண முடியாது. ஆனா அவரால வந்து அங்க நடக்கிற ப்ரொசீடிங்ஸ்ல வந்து he can take part, he can speak, he can give his suggestions also. That is the ultimate power he has. Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, Attorney General. They are called the union executives. Next, we are moving into the union legislature. As I mentioned, there are three. The government is separated into three parts. That is the executive, legislature, and judiciary. This is separated in order to give an effective administration. So next, moving to the union legislature part. The union legislature, also known as parliament, consists of the president, Lok Sabha, and Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha வந்து ரெண்டு houses of the parliament. President ஏன் யூனியன் லெஜிஸ்லேச்சர்ல வந்து ஒரு பார்ட்டா இருக்காரு அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, பிகாஸ் லோக்சபா ராஜ்யசபா எந்த ஒரு பில் பாஸ் பண்ணாலுமே வந்து பிரசிடென்டோட அசென்ட் இல்லாம வந்து இட் cannot become an act. Therefore, he is also a part of the legislature. So Article 79 to 122 in Part 5 deals with the provisions of Parliament. So there are two houses in the Parliament. You guys know it. That is the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is termed as the upper house. Lok Sabha is termed as the lower house. So according to Article 80, Rajya Sabha consists of not more than 250 members. The 250 members அப்படிங்கிறது பாத்தீங்கன்னா it is total strength. But as of now, the strength of Rajya Sabha is 245. So note it down. The present strength of Rajya Sabha is 245. This is the maximum strength which the Lok Sabha can have. And same thing, 12 can be nominated by the president, and remaining 238 shall be represented by the states and duties. These representatives will be elected by the state MLAs based upon the votes given by them. So that is the thing. Members of Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected members of the state legislature. That is the MLAs of the state. MLAs of the state elect these members. So Rajya Sabha's eligibility is 30 years. For president, we saw it as 35. For vice president also, it is 35. So for Rajya Sabha, the age is 30. To be a member of Rajya Sabha, they must be of 30 years and above. At present, we have 245 as I mentioned. That is 233 elected and 12 members are nominated. The Rajya Sabha is a permanent body which is not subject to be dissolved. But 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years and term of its members is 6 years. I mentioned this part in yesterday's class. That is given here. So the power of Rajya Sabha, this is a normal power which Rajya Sabha has, and below it is given special powers of Rajya Sabha. Resolution seeking the removal of vice president can only be originated in Rajya Sabha. So for a president, whereas it can be originated in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. But for vice president, you can only move in the Rajya Sabha because he is the chairman of Rajya Sabha, and they cannot move a motion for his removal in Lok Sabha. That is the special power which Rajya Sabha has. So Rajya Sabha can start any bill, but it cannot start a money bill. Rajya Sabha cannot start the money bill. That is, it also includes the budget. So that is also a special power of Lok Sabha, because Lok Sabha has the ultimate say in money bill, because they are elected by the people and they are answerable to the people for anything which the government does. Therefore, it is a special power of Lok Sabha. Also, the special power of Rajya Sabha is that it can authorize the parliament to make a law on this subject enumerated in the state list. That is, yesterday we saw that there are 3 types of lists. That is union list, state list, and concurrent list. The center is prohibited from making rules for the state list But if the Rajya Sabha authorizes the center to make a rule for anything which is there in state list, the center is authorized to do it. And also, no All India services can be created without the permission of Rajya Sabha. At present, we have three All India services. That is IAS, that is Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, and Indian Forest Service. These are the three All India services which are at present. And there is also a talk going to introduce the All India Judicial Service as a All India service. This will be dealing with the appointment of judges to the lower courts and other things, but this has not been implemented yet. It is in the proposal stage. Next, we'll move into the Lok Sabha. Article 81 deals with the composition of Lok Sabha. That is, the maximum strength of the House is 552, of which 530 are members represented by the state, 20 members are from union territories, and 2 are to be nominated by the please take your books. I'll just notify a correction out here. Just note it down. The maximum strength of the House is not 552. It is 550. So please note this down because this is an older edition. This has not been corrected yet. So it's 550. And the 2 members to be nominated by the President from Anglo-Indian Committee has been removed by the 104th Constitutional Amendment. And at present, the strength is not 545. It is 5. So please note these 3 corrections in this paragraph. If you're okay, someone can give me a thumbs up. I'll just move forward. Okay. So the number of constituencies of Lok Sabha has increased from 401 to 530 in 2019. And the members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people from the territorial constituencies in the state. For being a member of Lok Sabha, a person must be of more than age of 25. So for Rajya Sabha, it was 30. For President, it was 35. For Vice Presidents also, it was 35. For Lok Sabha, it is 25. So for a Prime Minister, can someone guess what is the age, minimum age which a Prime Minister should be? Can someone come up with the answer?
Sir, I'm not sure, but I guess it's 35.
No. Can someone? Your guess was okay, but it was not the right answer. But a good try. One member has given the correct answer in chat. So it's 25 years. Because the eligibility to become a Prime Minister was to be eligible to become a voter for Lok Sabha. So this sort of questions will be asked indirectly. This is not given in your book, but when you connect these 2 points, you will be obtaining the answer. So 25 is the minimum age to become a Prime Minister. Sorry. President, it's 35. Vice President is 35. But for a Prime Minister, if you're 25 years and above, you are eligible to become a Prime Minister. So Lok Sabha is not a permanent body. It is a temporary body which can be dissolved if there is no majority of parties or something else. So it is also diluted every 5 years and new elections are conducted for a new government to be formed. The President authorizes to dissolve Lok Sabha at any time, even before the completion of 5 years, on the recommendation of Prime Minister, and President cannot do it by himself. So the 17th Lok Sabha was elected in 2019. That is the Lok Sabha which is continuing till now. Next, after the elections, it will be 18th Lok Sabha. So at present, it's the 17th Lok Sabha which is going on. So Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Speaker is one of the ceremonial heads of Lok Sabha. That is, he heads the meetings or anything which is being carried in the Lok Sabha. So he is one of the important persons and he is a presiding officer for the Lok Sabha. He doesn't vote on a bill in the first instance, but he can cast a casting vote in case of a tie. Same as the Vice President when he does it when he presides over the Rajya Sabha. So that is one of the special powers which he has. Though he is a member of the Lok Sabha, he doesn't get to vote in the first instance because he is presiding over the house. So he presides over the joint sitting of the two houses of a parliament. So joint sitting, what does a joint sitting mean? When a bill is passed by Lok Sabha, but Rajya Sabha finds something not okay, and Rajya Sabha wants to change a part of the bill, but the Lok Sabha is not accepting, so therefore it results in a tie. So to break this tie, the president will call for a joint sitting. So this joint sitting will be having both the members of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Therefore, if Lok Sabha has 543 members and Rajya Sabha has the total number of members in Lok Sabha, joint sitting will be 788. So these all members will be participating in the joint sitting. So this joint sitting will be presided by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. So that is the special power he has. The Speaker of Rajya Sabha will not preside over it. The first preference is Speaker of Lok Sabha. The Speaker of Lok Sabha is absent. Then in the case, Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha will be taking over the meeting. So that is the special power of the Speaker of Lok Sabha and Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So he certifies a bill as a money bill. That is, money bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha. And who certifies the money bill is that? It is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha who certifies that this bill is a money bill. So if you guys remember, Aadhaar bill was passed by the Lok Sabha, right? So Aadhaar bill was termed as a money bill. So that is the special power which he has. So Aadhaar bill was given the status of a money bill by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So his decision is final and no one can question his decision. Next, the powers and functions of the Lok Sabha. Money bill can only originate in the Lok Sabha, as I said. It cannot be like originate in the Rajya Sabha. It will be always brought in or it will be introduced in the Lok Sabha only with the permission of the president. Because simple majority is only needed to pass this bill. Because as it deals with the financial matters, it requires the prior permission of the president to introduce it. And normally the president approves the money bill because the money bill is always introduced with the permission of the president. Therefore, he will never use veto power over these bills. Money will always be passed. A no conference motion to remove the Council of Ministers can only be introduced in Lok Sabha because they are only they are only elected by the people of the country. The members of Rajya Sabha are representatives of the state. So they cannot move a no confidence motion over the government. Any bill pending in the Rajya Sabha passed by Lok Sabha also lapses on unless president calls for a joint sitting. That is, இது என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா வந்து ஒரு பில் வந்து ராஜ்யசபா ஒரு பில்ல லோக்சபா பாஸ் பண்ணி அந்த பில்ல வந்து ராஜ்யசபா ரிஜெக்ட் பண்ணி ரெண்டுலயும் கான்ஃபிளிக்ட் ஆகுது அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் லோக்சபா டிசால்வ் ஆகுது அப்படிங்கிற சிச்சுவேஷன்ல அந்த பில் வந்து லேப்ஸ் ஆயிரும். அது லேப்ஸ் ஆயிருங்கிற சென்ஸ் பாத்தீங்கன்னா that bill will be vanished from the house if the president didn't call for a joint sitting. The bill will be discussed in a joint sitting. If not, the bill lapses. So any bill pending in Rajya Sabha not passed by Lok Sabha does not lapse. That is because the Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. It does not dissolve at any point of time. Only 1/3 of the members are quitting every 2 years and 1/3 will be joining every new year freshly. So that is the condition. So look into these two conditions properly. That is, any bill passed by Lok Sabha and pending in Rajya Sabha lapses unless a joint sitting is called upon. Any bill pending in Rajya Sabha not passed by Lok Sabha does not lapse. That is, any bill originating in Rajya Sabha and pending in Rajya Sabha does not lapse. And also any bill passed by Rajya Sabha and when it has been moved to Lok Sabha, but Lok Sabha has not acted upon the bill and it has been holding the bill, that bill also lives on. It does not lapse. So please note this point. If you have any doubt, you can ask me because this is an important point. Someone can come up with a point if anyone has a doubt. இது புரிஞ்சுதுங்களா?
Come up again. இன்னொரு தடவை
அதாவது பாத்தீங்கன்னா லோக் சபா ராஜ்யசபா இருக்கு. சபால வந்து ஒரு பில் பாஸ் பண்ணி ராஜ்யசபா அந்த பில்ல வந்து ரிஜெக்ட் பண்றாங்க, இல்ல அந்த பில்ல வந்து பாஸ் பண்ண வச்சிருக்காங்க அப்படிங்கிற பட்சத்துல பிரசிடென்ட் வந்து ஒரு ஜாயிண்ட் சிட்டிங் கால் ஃபேர் பண்ணல அப்படின்னா இந்த பில் வந்து லேப்ஸ் ஆயிரும். லேப்ஸ் இன் தி சென்ஸ் இந்த பில் வந்து டிசால்வ் ஆயிரும், அவ்வளவுதான். இந்த பில்லோட லைஃப் முடிஞ்சிடும். இதே வந்து ராஜ்யசபா ஒரு பில் பாஸ் பண்ணி லோக்சபா அந்த பில்ல வந்து பாஸ் பண்ணாம வச்சிருந்துச்சு அப்படிங்கிற பட்சத்துல இந்த பில்லுக்கு வந்து எதுவுமே ஆகாது. இந்த பில் will live on. That is until the next Lok Sabha is constituted or the next session, until the next session happens. This bill lives on till that date. இல்லனா வந்து ராஜ்யசபாலே வந்து ஒரு பில் வந்து ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகி அங்கேயே நிக்கிது. This bill lives on. But when Lok Sabha passes a bill and Rajya Sabha rejects it or does not act upon it, it lapses unless the president calls for a joint sitting. This is the thing. புரிஞ்சுதுங்களா? If not, you can ask me again.
Thank you.
Okay. So next are the parliamentary committees. The parliamentary committees, இந்த 3 committees வந்து மெயினா பாத்துக்கோங்க. Apart from this, there are a total of 11 to 14 committees. That is not important for you. These 3 committees are the most important committees. That is the Public Accounts Committee, Estimates Committee, Committee on Public Undertakings. These 3 committees are financial committees. So it is so important. And the main point to be noted out here is no minister can be a part of these committees. So a minister is banned from becoming a member of these committees. So a non-minister member will be the member of these committees. So these committees are appointed or elected by the House. Did someone say anything? Okay. So these committees are appointed or elected by the House or they are nominated by the Speaker and they work under the direction of the Speaker. So Speaker வந்து ஒரு special power இருக்கு. Apart from these committees, if the Speaker becomes a member of some or the other committee, then he will automatically become the leader of the committee. So because he has much powers than other members, he automatically becomes the leader of any committee which he is in. But he is not allowed to join these 3 committees. These 3 committees he is barred. So that is the thing. Next, judiciary. The Constitution of India has established an integrated judiciary. As mentioned yesterday, the hierarchy of court is followed. That is the unique feature which the Indian judiciary has. It is covered under the Article 124 to 147 of the Indian Constitution, Article 214 to Article 231 of Part 6 deals with the High Courts. So Part 5 from Article 124 to 147 is dealt under Supreme Court. Article 214 to Article 231 deals with the High Courts under Part 6 of the Indian Constitution. So the Constitution deals with the subordinate courts also. So that is, here you can have a description of Supreme Court and High Court where the qualifications are mentioned. So for both the courts, you must be a citizen of India and he has to be a judge. For a Supreme Court qualification, he has to be a judge of a High Court for more than 5 years. Or he can be an advocate of High Court or Supreme Court for 10 years or more. For High Court, he must be a citizen of India. He should have held judicial office in territory of India for 10 years. That is, he could have been a judge in the lower courts, that is the district court, sessions court, or any subordinate courts, or he could have been an advocate in Supreme Court or High Court. So that is the qualification for a High Court judge. So he is appointed by the Chief Justice. Sorry, he is appointed by the President. That is, the Chief Justice is appointed by the President after consultation with the other judges. That other judges here is a collegium. A collegium consists of CJI, plus 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. So these members are consulted before appointing any judge to the Supreme Court. So that is a process how a judge is appointed. So in case, that is I said, CJI will be consulted plus 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court will be consulted to appoint a judge. But whereas in a case to appoint the CJI itself, the outgoing CJI will be consulted along with the 4 senior most Supreme Court judges. So that is the procedure. So the oath for the Supreme Court judges and the Chief Justice of India is administered by the President. But for the High Court judges and the Chief Justice of High Court, it is administered by the Governor. They hold office till the age of 65. That is, there is no minimum term like 5 years or 10 years or so. If he is appointed at the age of 30, suppose take an example, a person is appointed as a judge at the age of 30, he'll be a Supreme Court judge till the age of 35. Sorry, 65. So even though he is appointed at the age of 30, he'll be serving as a Supreme Court judge till the age of 65. Therefore, note an important point, there is no minimum age for a person to become a Supreme Court judge or a High Court judge. That is, taken the case, if you have this qualification of 10 years being an advocate, if you are becoming an advocate at the age of 20 and you are eligible to become a Supreme Court by age 30 judge. So if you're appointed even in this age, you'll be serving as Supreme Court judge till this age. So that is the thing. But whereas in the case of High Court, the age limit is 62. That is 3 years less than the Supreme Court. So that is the thing. So just take a break for 2 minutes. I'll just come back. Sorry. So next we'll be moving with the state executive part. The state also has the same structure which the center has. That is, instead of the president, there will be a governor. Instead of prime minister, there will be chief minister. The same council of ministers will be present for the chief minister also to assist him in taking any decision or moving forward with those things. So as we saw, president is the nominal head for the center government. The governor is the nominal head for the state government. The chief minister is the real executive head. So Article 153 provides for the office of the governor in the state. So the governor of a state shall be appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and seal. That is, warrant under his hand and seal அப்படிங்கிற பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வந்து சில நேரங்கள்ல வந்து பிரசிடென்ட் வந்து பிரசிடென்ட்டுக்காக அப்படின்னு போட்டா his P or others sign. But in this case, governor is appointed by the hand and seal of the president. That is, the president himself signs the order and he does so. இப்போ நீங்க ஒரு கெசட்டட் ஆஃபீஸர், அதாவது வந்து when you're joining the Air Force or the Army or the Navy, in officer cadre, you will be joining under the hand and seal of the president himself. That is, you'll be having your appointment letter by the president himself. So the governor holds office for a period of 5 years. Even before the completion of 5 years, he can be removed from his office if the president thinks he's not fit to serve in his office. That is also a way to remove him. There is no removal procedure which is given in the constitution for a governor. So the governor has the power to nominate one member of the Anglo-Indian community to the Legislative Assembly. This procedure was also removed by the 104th Constitutional Amendment. So please try this out in your book. So this was removed by the 104th Constitutional Amendment along with the 2 Anglo-Indian nominations for the central government. So only remove these things. The next point is still valid. This point is valid. Only just remove this point. If you're okay, someone can give me a thumbs up. Okay. So next, he nominates 1/6 members of the Legislative Council. அதாவது ஸ்டேட்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா வந்து just like Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, that is, there are 2 houses in the parliament, right? Certainly 6 states out of 28 states have a second house also. The first house is called as the Legislative Assembly. This all the 28 states have. This is the main decision-making house, and every decision regarding to the states' functioning is being taken out here. But 6 states have Legislative Council, that is a secondary house, which can also be termed as the. It doesn't have any power or any special provisions for this thing, but it acts as a second house in certain states. But a state can request the center to abolish or establish this house. So for this purpose, the governor appoints 1/6 of its member. Also, the house cannot publish a budget or money bill without the permission of the governor, just like the central government needs to get approval from the president. The state government also needs to get approval from the governor before establishing or before filing a money bill in the state assembly. So he appoints the advocate general of a state, just like just like the law officer for the central government. The governor appoints the law officer for the state government. That is the advocate general of a state. In center, it's attorney general. So next, it's the chief minister and the council of minister. The same format is continued here, which the prime minister follows. He advises the governor with regarding to summoning and proroguing the sessions of state legislature. He allocates and reshuffles the portfolios among ministers. The same the prime minister does with his cabinet in the center. So the council of ministers is headed by the chief minister to aid and advise the governor under Article 163 of the Constitution. So you need not memorize all these article numbers, but you have to memorize these numbers for all the fundamental rights and DPSPs which has been given out here. So fundamental rights is something which is so basic, which has been repeatedly asked in both CDS and AFCAT exams. So please memorize those things. The state legislature consists of legislative assembly and legislative council, as I mentioned, as all the features which the so it has all the provisions which the central government, that is the Lok Sabha, has. The legislative assembly has a maximum strength of 500 and a minimum strength of 60, because it differs from state to state, as different states have different types of population levels. So a state with higher population like UP and those states will have members around 500. A state with minimum population like Sikkim, Goa and other things will have 60. So whereas the states like Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Goa, the minimum number is 30, because their population is so low, they cannot have a lot, members of legislative assembly prior than 30. In the case of Mizoram, it is 40. In the case of Nagaland, it is 46. So note these exclusions, because these are likely to be asked in exams. Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Goa has members of legislative assemblies in the count of 30. Mizoram has in the count of 40. Nagaland has in the count of 46. So a person must not be less than 25 years of age for contesting elections in legislative assembly. It is the same age qualification which is for Lok Sabha also. The legislative assembly legislates law on subject matters contained in the state list as well as concurrent list. So it is also empowered to make decisions on the concurrent list, as I mentioned yesterday. But if there is a clash between the central government and the state government, the decision of the central government prevails over the decision of state government. Therefore, the central has overpowering power when it comes to the concurrent list. The members of legislative assembly are elected directly by the people for a period of 5 years. Unless the house is not dissolved by the governor, they continue for the complete 5 years. If at all they don't enjoy majority, then they have to the ruling government has to resign, and then the government which has a higher majority will take over. The legislative council is known as the upper house, like the Rajya Sabha, as I mentioned, but it is not a house which every state has. As of now, only 6 states have this legislative council. and the strength should not be less than 40, and it should not exceed 1/3 of the total strength. That is, if at all a state legislature has 200, that is the legislative assembly has a maximum strength of 200, then 1/3, that is 66, is the maximum strength of legislative council, and the minimum strength is 60 in any case. But sorry, 40. So 40 is the minimum strength. But in the case of Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Goa, their legislative assembly itself is fixed at 30. Therefore, they will have a minimum number of 30 for legislative council also. This is not so important for you guys, the strength out here, because only 6 states have legislative council out there. But Rajya Sabha is so important because it is a permanent house of the Indian Constitution. Unlike legislative council, Rajya Sabha has much more powers because legislative council cannot interfere with the decision making process of the legislative assembly. If the legislative assembly passes a bill again when legislative council rejects it, it has no other say but to pass the bill. Therefore, legislative council is just like a puppet house. But Rajya Sabha has real powers where it can also make a bill die out there in the house itself. So that is the exclusive difference which legislative council and Rajya Sabha has. So legislative council members are elected by local bodies, then legislative assembly, university graduates, electorates consisting of secondary school teachers and governor. That is 1/3 of the members are elected by the local bodies, municipalities, which we saw yesterday, which were inculcated into the constitution via 73rd amendment and 74th amendment. So if at all someone has a doubt, please put it on the chat box. I've got my audio disconnected. There is some fault. So if someone has to ask any doubt, please come up with doubts in the chat box. So that is the 1/3 will be elected by the local bodies. Next, the 1/3 will be elected by the members of legislative assembly. Then 1/12, that is 1/12 of the total members of will be elected by the members of the members of teachers who are in the standard of secondary level and above, and 1/12 will be elected by the university graduates, and 1/6 members will be nominated by the governor himself. So as I'm facing some technical issues, we'll call it off a day. We'll be continuing this from tomorrow onwards.